Hello, everyone. Hi, James. Thanks for joining us.
No problem. Hello, how are you, Michaela?
I'm good. It was my sister's birthday today, though, so I drank a bit too much wine, so I'm feeling slightly ropey.
Oh, that's brilliant. We've got a meeting in an hour.
I know, yes. Sell. I'll be asleep by then, James. I know I've got a meeting straight after this as well. It trust me to have too much wine on a day where I'm back to back. Oh, it is what it is. I'm glad this is being recorded as well for memory purposes. I think what we'll do is just let everybody just say hello, introduce yourself, and then we'll head over to you, James, to speak. I do have to pop out of it earlier, so Nikki, who's under design and build, will wrap it up afterwards. But I'm going to leave about 15:15, just so you know, James. Okay, but I'll come to whoever's on the screen first. So Claire Parkinson, hello, lovely to see you.
Everybody.
Do a little intro.
Yeah, morning everybody. I'm out of work at the moment, so but I'm still with the women in construction, doing what I can down and looking for something new at the moment. But hello everybody.
Good, exciting times, Claire. What you looking to do?
I don't know at the moment. I may be going. I actually would like to catch up with Amanda regarding health and safety, if that's okay, Amanda. I was going to put something on the group later. I was just getting my laptop sorted. I've just got it back, etc. So I don't want to take up the call. But yeah, I'm probably going to go towards the health and safety and consultancy way that way. But yeah, wait and see.
Let's have a chat, Claire.
Definitely. Thank you, Amanda. Appreciate that.
Yeah, no worries. I'll send you my contact details.
Yeah, thank you.
Amazing. We love to see it. Well, Amanda, over to you. Do you want to tell us what you do?
Yes, so I'm Amanda Reynolds. I work for Ultima Safe Contractor. I'm working with organisations that look into incorporate sort of health and safety compliance into their businesses.
Lovely, thanks. Sasha, I think you're not muted.
You.
Sonia, hi, nice to see you.
Hi, nice to meet you all. Can you hear me okay?
I think so, yeah.
Can you hear me? Is it?
It's a bit crackly.
Let me log in on my phone instead. I don't think it's coming through on the laptop properly. Let me log in on the phone.
No problemo. I'll come to you then, Nicola. Hi, Nicola. Thanks for joining us again.
Morning, Nicola D'Souza. I am the Central Hub Director for the Federation of Master Building.
Lovely, thank you. Short and sweet. We love to see it. Deepa, hello. Do you want to do a little intro?
Hello, everybody. I'm Deepa Mistry, CEO of Building Safety Crisis Limited, but also a CFO for a charity in my day job. Hi, everyone.
Nice. And I'm not going to come to those who don't have the cameras on, just in case you don't want to speak or you're currently doing something. So I shall leave it there, unless Sonia pops back in any time soon. I guess not. Okay then, James. Welcome, James. Do you want to do an intro? Tell us what you're going to be talking about today. I'm excited.
I would love to do an intro. So welcome everyone. My name is James Flemming. I'm the Managing Director here at The Power Within Her. And I'm also a Director of Women in Construction, The Power Within Her. So we do a lot of leadership for women in construction. So what I want to do, I want to get a little bit about my backstory. So today I'm not going to do slides and presentations. I'm just going to talk about something that I'm really passionate about and why I'm passionate about it. Now, as you can tell, I am a male. I am in a very female world of what I've decided to put my career into. So I want to give a little bit of background on that, and you'll probably hear in my voice the passion I have for what I do. So I started off leaving school and I became a sparky or electrician, as most people might know it. So I left school and by default, I became a sparky working on the construction sites up in fact all over the UK, but I started off in Scotland. I then, in my early 20s, decided to go out on my own. So for a couple of years, I was running my own little construction company. And as everybody knows, it is really bloody difficult to run your own company when you don't have that regular income. So I then decided that I was going to go back to college. I went back to college and I got a degree in mechanical engineering, mechanical electrical engineering. I then moved to the US. So I worked for a company called Intel Pentium Processors. They make the processors for laptops, and I bloody hated it. I was working in a factory in this clean room environment and an office, and I just thought, this isn't me. So I did that for a couple of years. I then moved to Ireland, from the US over to Ireland. And again, I was working in that kind of electrical and electronic industry. Did that for a couple of years. I then came back to the UK, and this is in the late 90s now. And I joined the oil and gas industry, which, by the way, is very, very similar to the construction. And that's why I'm telling the story. So I was in my late 20s and I was working for a very large American oil and gas company. In fact, I think they're the third largest company in the world, service company in the world. So I started out as a young engineer. I was traveling the world. I lived in Africa. I lived in Australia. You know, I've lived in, you know, the Middle East. I lived in Dubai for 12 years. I lived in Malaysia. Now, I was still in construction, but it was oil and gas construction. So my job was basically, started off as an engineer on the construction of oil platforms, oil well sites in the desert, so on and so forth. Now, as you can imagine, it's a very male-dominated environment. With very, very little females in the industry. In fact, when I think back to even just kind of 15 years ago, the industry just took a change. And about 15, 20 years ago, the construction, the oil and gas industry realized the importance of having more diversity in the workplace. So by then I had moved into an HR role. So I'd been through operations, through leadership, senior leadership, C-level, and I was now promoted into a role as a career and talent development director for the Middle East and Africa. And one of my roles was, how do we bring diversity into the workplace? And I thought, well, that's a bloody easy one. We just need to bring in more females into the industry. But, and it's quite similar in terms of the construction sector. Predominantly, most of the engineers or most of the people that worked within the industry were males. So most of the university students were males. So we were faced with this challenge of, where do we find these young engineers? So I kind of took it upon myself to, as one of my key goals was to recruit young female engineers into the business. So I developed a thing called the Baker Hughes Experience. That was the company that I was working for at the time. So I developed this program called the Baker Hughes Experience. And what we did is we invited engineers, males and females, along to a two-day interview process. So we took them along to a really nice hotel in Dubai. So we used to fly them into Dubai, and we put them through this program. And what it was seeing how they performed, you know, under conditions of stress and challenge, because like the construction sector, you're faced with quite quick decisions on an oil platform where decisions have to be made quite quick. And I noticed this really strange phenomenon, that the female engineers were outperforming the male engineers in almost every aspect. And I'm thinking, what the hell is going on? I really didn't expect this outcome. So anyway, long story short, we ended up bringing on a lot more female engineers than we did males over about 2.5 year period. And I've got to say that most of those female engineers are now in really senior positions. So we did the right thing. So why am I telling the story? because I believe the UK construction sector are going through something very similar right now. We've got an industry that is very much set in their ways, and there's only certain companies within the sector that's starting to take, I believe, not looking at equality and diversity and inclusion as a tick box exercise, but actually taking it serious. So let's fast forward a little. So during that time in the oil and gas sector, I got a real feeling for leadership and management. I was sending a lot of my young engineers and a lot of my management teams on training courses, leadership training courses, and they were going away in a 2 or 3 day training course to nice hotels and getting nice certificates saying that I'm now a leader, and they were coming into the business and nothing had changed. They've got this nice fancy black manual that they put on the shelf saying they're a leader, and nothing had changed. They went straight back to their old habits, right? So they weren't actually really learning anything. So I then decided to take it upon myself to try and find out why. So I spent the next almost 15 years studying what made successful people successful. I mean, across the board, not just men, women, everything in between. Why could you have these two people who very similar background, very similar upbringing, you know, very similar education, and you've got one person who always seemed to excel and one person who always found problems in every challenge? So during that process, I started studying a thing called NLP. I don't know if anybody's heard of NLP, neuro-linguistic programming. And I realized that what we say to ourselves and others actually drives our perception of our reality. And I thought it was a really interesting concept. So I spent, as I said, another few years after that, really studying the impact that this had. And I say this term very loosely, on the leaders of businesses and organizations. Because if one thing is true, and we all know to be true, is the world is woefully short of really good leaders. Right? We all know that's very, very true. So I then set myself on a mission to try and change that narrative. Now, I'm married to a fantastic lady called Inas, who is originally from Yemen. So she's very, very culturally diverse. And I remember saying to Inas, we were in a nice, comfortable 4-bedroom house with a swimming pool in Dubai, and I turned around and says to my wife one day, I want to quit my job, give all this up, and start a training and development company. And I was expecting this pushback of, what the hell are you doing? But she didn't. She turned around and said, you know what? I think you would be great at that. So we literally packed our stuff. There's a little bit of stuff in between, but I'd be here all day if I told you the full story. Because there was a lot of things happened in between that. But ultimately, she turned around and says to me, I think you would be great at that. Let's do it. So we packed up our stuff, put it on a boat, and we returned to the UK. So in 2016, this was late 2016, in 2017, we set up a company called The Power Within Training. Now, we had absolutely no idea what we were doing, but we had a really clear vision of why we wanted to do it. We wanted to change the narrative around leadership. So not around female leadership, not around male leadership, around leadership and how leaders should be driving people in their businesses and organizations. Because I believe that leadership is not about telling people what to do. Leadership is all about asking really great questions of yourself and of others. Because guess what happens when you ask someone what they think? They open their mind up to possibilities. And that, to me, what leadership was really all about. So we then spent from February, we went on holiday in January of 2017. We jumped on a flight to Tenerife. And we spent 2 weeks in Tenerife. We came up with our business plan, the name of the company, all during those 2 weeks on holiday. And we set our company up on February the 17th, February the 15th, 2017. So fast forward about 8 months, I had no idea what the UK business wanted. I had no idea, because I'd been outside the UK, by the way, for about 22 years at this point. So I'd lived in different countries around the world. So I had no idea what business was. But what I had a really good idea of is the power of having diversity in your business. And I kind of set myself on a mission to try and develop a program that really helped people understand their true value and why it was important around self-leadership and leadership. Now, I never decided to come back into the construction sector. So this actually happened by default. Anyway, I was running these programs for small business owners who'd just started up in business. They're maybe a year, 2 years in business. And I was teaching them about, how the first, because being successful at anything first starts with this. Yep. This big 4-pound organ between our eyes. And that's where business success and failure happens. In my opinion, that's where all success and failure happens. So I was teaching people about business, but first of all, about looking at themselves first. And I'm going back to this NLP. So the words that they used to use. I mean, I used to go to business events and people would say, and business owners, right, would say, oh, I hate selling. Oh, I hate selling. I'm thinking, how the hell are you going to grow a business if you're telling everybody that wants to talk to you that you hate selling? Yep. I'm thinking if you're not mastering the art of selling, you're never going to have a business. So anyway, this is how the Power Within actually started. And one day so I'm going to tell you how construction came back into this story. So around the end of 2017, I was running a program in a local hotel for business owners. It was called Sales and Self-Leadership Development. It was started off as self, but then I realized that all these business owners are really struggling with how to sell. So I added sales onto the self-leadership program. So I was teaching people about the language that they need to be using and so on and so forth. And it was a guy who ran a construction company, a pretty decent sized company, had came up to me at the end of the event. He says, look, hi, James, I'm the managing director of this joinery company. And I really love what you said. He says, but I'm really struggling to put it into action. I go to these events and I read books and I've been on seminars and I'm sitting and agreeing with everything everyone's telling me. He says, but I just really struggle to then turn that information or that knowledge into action. So he asked me if I would help him. So I started to help this guy in his business, and we'll call it coaching, very loosely call it coaching. It was much more mentoring. And he then put me on to another one of his business friends who was in construction. So I sat down with this other company and I sat and spoke to them, and I was asking them about their business and how their growth and their vision for the company. And when I used to say vision, people would look at me as if I was cuckoo. Like, vision? What's a vision? And this kind of snowballed, and before I knew it, by the time I was in the first kind of quarter of 2018, I was working with about 5 or 6 construction companies. And I was sitting, so here's where the female part comes in again. So I was sitting with my wife one day, and we're kind of looking at our business development and our growth plans. And I was saying, all of these construction companies that I'm working with, they all have identical problems. Time, money, people. That was their 3 big problems, right? Was time, money, and people. And my wife said, well, why don't you create a program for them? So this is how we ended up in the construction. So this was 2018. So I then decided to lock myself away for a couple of months, both me and my wife, who, design and develop our programs together. And we created a thing called the Business Growth Academy for the construction sector. So if we get anybody from CITB on the call, no. So anyway, so CITB, yeah, so CITB, I went to the CITB with, by the way, I had never even heard the CITB up until this point, but it was one of my clients says, oh, we pay a levy to CITB. Do you think we could get this funded? And I thought, who the hell is the CITB? So I went away and I Googled who the CITB was and set up a couple of meetings with the local CITB representatives, and they'd said, oh, you need to speak to people down in Portsmouth, and you need to do this and you need to do that. And anyway, so I jumped through all of the hoops. I then put the program and I got it, well, certified. Well, tell a lie, I presented the program to the CITB and I was basically told it's not going to happen. For 18 months, I was told by the CITB that this program was not going to get approval until I eventually went to the CEO. Actually, so this is how determined I am. I went to my local MSP. I then went to my local MP, who then contacted Gillian Keegan. Gillian Keegan set up a meeting with myself and the CEO of CITB, who was a female at the time, and eventually got her, and I was basically said, look, here's the problems, here's a solution, why am I not getting this approved? And she turned around and she said, well, there's no reason why we can't. And that was the birth of the Power Within training in the construction sector. So, and from that day, so that was late 2018, early 19, we have now run the Business Growth Academy for approximately 1,000 construction companies in the UK. Now, why do I tell that story? We're getting to another point. Why does it? So what happened is, as you can imagine, in fact, I think in the UK, the current statistic for starting up new businesses, 80% is male and 20% is female. Well, we were finding something quite similar in the construction sector. We were, out of every 10 or 15 clients that were on our program, there was maybe 1 or 2 females on the program. And another really strange phenomenon popped up, that the work assignments and the conversations were much more powerful when the females would have the courage to speak up, because they would talk about things that men generally wouldn't talk about. And again, I said to my wife, really strange phenomenon I've noticed. And my wife said, well, why don't you create a program for females? So I locked myself away for a couple of months, and we created Women in Construction Leading with Motivational Intelligence, which is now it's actually an executive diploma. We released that just over 1.5 years ago to the construction sector, and we have had, I think we've had over 120 females come through the program. And just that time, we're also working with a few of the really large organisations around female empowerment and women in construction. We're working with Vistry, Gilead, Caddick Construction, so a few of the big companies. Again, why do I say this? So this takes us on to really what I wanted to talk about this morning. Any questions before I jump on to the next part? Are we enjoying the story so far? Cool, cool. So next part of the conversation was this phenomenon, right? That we kind of, yes, Amanda.
I was trying to clap, actually, rather than raise my hand and ask a question. I was just trying to go like that.
Thank you very much.
Like Michaela, I had a few wines last night, so apologies.
Amazing. So during this now I actually don't run the, so what happens is, I just to get to for clarity. So what happens is, I normally design and develop all our programs with my wife. So we design and develop everything together. And what we do is, we normally bring someone, we hire someone, we come on, we train them how to run the programs, who are aligned with their vision and values and so on and so forth. And then they run them, because guess what? I'm not a female, so it's really difficult for me to run a female. But by the way, I did used to run the programs, and I would always start off with, I'm not a female, so, and it's really difficult for a male, whether we like it or not, because we don't know what females go through in the work environment. So we can say anything we want, we don't know what it's like. So obviously I then hire someone and, you know, train them, and then they run the programs. Anyway, back to the phenomenon. So what we noticed was throughout this process and this program was the challenges that females face within the construction sector. And they're pretty unique challenges. And what we found was there's a lot of, let's talk about EDI, equality, diversity and inclusion. Now, I have a slightly different take on this because I've been very fortunate that I've worked in different countries. You know, I've worked in some really strict and diverse cultures. Being in the Middle East, I lived in Saudi Arabia, which you can imagine for females is not the greatest place in the world. Slightly changing now. So I've worked in some really strict, really diverse cultures, businesses and organizations. And I have a different view on EDI. And this is something that's came out by talking to, you know, these females that's been through our programs, because we run them through a psychometric test called a motivational intelligence test before and after the programs, and we see the changes in the conversations that we have. Anyway, back to the conversation. Now, my take on female empowerment and women within the construction sector is this. We should never, ever, ever look at anyone in our business based on their colour, based on their gender, or based on their sex. We should never, ever, ever pay people based on any of those characteristics. We should always be looking, and this is something that I'm so passionate about, we should look at every single person on the value that they add and they bring to the table. And that's what EDI means to me, right? I think a lot of companies, a lot of people get this so wrong, and they're doing it for the right reasons. I think they're just doing it the wrong way, where they take this really strong stance on EDI. It almost sometimes comes across as like, and I mean this with the best possible term, man-hating. And I think we're getting it so wrong.
Yeah.
Because I don't think, sorry, go ahead. No, I believe that females should be females, you know, what they bring to the table, what they bring to leadership roles that a man will never be able to bring. And vice versa. You know, what females bring to the boardroom, what we bring, you know, what they bring to the discussion. You know, I believe we need women, females need to stay female. Don't try and come into an industry and think about this male domination. Think about it as an incredible opportunity to you know, engage and make, you know, men be men, and bring that and really embrace, you know, that femininity that a woman brings. That's just how I believe the world should be, because I don't look at anyone based on this race or sex. I think everyone should be looked at as humans. That's my take on EDI, and that was the key purpose of the stories. I think we really need to change the narrative, because there's a lot of narratives out there around female empowerment and female leadership, and it can be quite damaging. You know, people can take it too far, and I think it can be quite damaging. I think the purpose of this conversation and what we are trying to build and create, and I know that Michaela's really on board with this type of conversation, is let's keep women women. Let's keep females females. Let's bring that femininity into the boardroom. Let's bring that into the workplace. You know, by the way, I just want to add this. On our programs, we always bring in a really senior member of a business, a female of a business or organization, and they talk about their challenges, right, that they've faced. Now, a lot of these females that have come on our courses and done the Q&As have been in the industry for 30, 40 years. Some of them are the head of some of the largest construction and business organizations in the UK. And one of the most outstanding, you know, contributing factors is they will say, I tried to become a male in a male-dominated environment. They were trying to take on male characteristics, and they realised that what the hell was I doing? Because it was making them unhappy. They were trying to be something they were not. And when they realised that, oh my God, that actually add more value being me, then their whole success in the industry changed. So that's really what today was about. Was really about discussing that. So what I would like to do now, I would like to open the floor to kind of what I've talked about. Does anybody have any opinions or discussions around it?
I want to ask something actually, James. In all these women that you put through the leadership and management courses, and from the speakers as well, what has been the most, or a couple of common traits that they've had the difficulties in progressing to leadership and management? Because obviously the companies that are putting them through it are open to this. Why has it not happened previous to them going on these courses? What are the struggles? And then how is this course helping them to overcome it?
Yeah. So one of the biggest things that comes through is confidence. So a lot of remember, a lot of the women that are coming on this course already have semi-senior positions, but there's a huge lack of confidence because they come in there thinking they've got to be a certain way, right? So that the biggest thing that normally they come in is they have this I'm not going to call it imposter syndrome because I don't necessarily like the word, but they come with that, like, am I good enough? You know, I'm a woman, you know, these men are talking down to me, you know, sometimes they're in a conversation. By the way, this is something that happens a lot. They'll say, you know, I'm in a conversation and, you know, and it almost like the men talk to the men and I'm almost left out. And so confidence is a big thing. And again, that's also the biggest takeaway, Michaela, is when they leave the training program, it's a leadership program. It's not a self-confidence program. Right? It's a leadership program, but what it teaches about, you know, developing yourself, standing up, being counted, and bloody being female. Don't try and compete with, because there's also a psychological phenomenon. When a woman is more feminine in a male-dominated environment, the men are more accepting, believe it or not. So I need to do some of the studies behind why that happened. But go in there and be you, right? Stand up, be counted. Don't let them talk over you. Like, hey, I'm here. Hello. Yeah, don't let that. So that was one of the biggest things, was they come in with this. They want to learn leadership and management skills, which they definitely do. So one of the biggest takeaways is they leave with a new level of self-confidence around being able to ask questions. Because guess what happens when you ask questions? This is a sales 101 tactic. When you're asking really good questions, you're in control. So if you're ever in a situation and you feel not heard, ask a bloody question. All of a sudden, you're back in the conversation, you're back in control. So self-confidence is a huge one, Michaela. But when they leave, not only do they leave with more self-confidence, but they leave with a toolbox full of traits, characteristics, tips and tricks to be great leaders, because leadership is really all about people. And females are amazing at building relationships with people.
Yeah, can I say as well, James, like that is my actual pet hate, and it cringed me out. So I've gone onto construction sites with a QS who is employed by me, asked questions about the site, and then it's a man. They will literally answer the QS because he's male. And honestly, I was stood there this day and I was a bit intimidated anyway, because we was at what's that prison called? You know, where they're like crazy and they go to like Fred Weston, all that one. Anyway, this insane prison. So I was like really uncomfortable anyway, like, oh my God, somebody's going to kill me while we're here. And he was just answering this bloke. And after that point, and this is really cringy, I know, but every time I've been on site, I've just been like, hi, I'm the managing director. Which is I don't want to say that, but if I don't say it, they just think I'm there to take notes or something. So it's really infuriating. That's how I've come over it and overcome it. And this is what I talk about most. I don't, men aren't shouting now when you go on site, don't you? So it's like, but they just ignore you. It's this unconscious bias, like, oh, you know nothing about it. And so I think that's like a really important thing for women to be able to tackle it, like, oh, how do I overcome this? Me personally, introduce myself like a tool, but also how can we tell men to stop doing that? Like, if a woman asks you a question, answer her, talk to her in response as well. It's got to be like dual pronged, you know what I mean?
The answer's easy. Just bloody tell them. That's the self-confidence part. That's the thing that kept coming through. And by the way, we do follow-up. So we don't just, once you leave the program, you don't ever leave the program. You know, we have similar to this, we have a WhatsApp group, we have free training, we talk about the menopause, teaching companies and men about the menopause, you know, what's going on, why are they feeling like this, why are they acting this way? Guess what, it's bloody natural. You know, so it's really all about, I put this back on, don't be frightened to educate the guys around you, because guess what, we don't know. Right? We might pretend
we know that, James. We know that.
No. You know, I mean, I've got 3 sisters, so hence the reason I'm very, you know, really driven by, you know, female empowerment and bringing women into business, because I wouldn't be where I am today, literally, be where our business is today, you know, if it wasn't for females. You know, if it wasn't for my wife, you know, she is my biggest supporter. She's the one that pushes me when my head goes down. You know, I've got 3 sisters, you know, so you can imagine I'm the only son, 3 sisters. So I've had to, you know, really, I'm a very, always been around the females. And, you know, even my grandmother, when my papa died really young, she was the head of the family. So I've always grown up with this different view. And I think
matriarchy, James,
yes,
with the matriarchy. I think it does give men a different perspective though when they've been brought up with sisters. I think boys in just a boys' family compared to like a mixed sex family, you can notice the difference. The men in my family are all just scared to death because I'm the sister. So they're just absolutely fearful of women. Quite carefully. I love it. Does anybody else have any questions or what we're asking?
Yeah. James, lovely to hear your journey. And I know there's much more that you can tell. So just going a little bit back to the question. So when you go to organizations, is the first thing they say, oh, we've got a bunch of women that need help? Or do they recognize that there's a problem within their whole organization? Because if we go back to, you know, an inclusive environment, it's not the women that are the problem, it's collectively. So my question to you is, how do you approach the overall culture of the organization from cradle to grave, because there's a diverse workforce with men and women, so that you're not kind of saying, right, we need to look after the women and, you know, not educate the men at the same time? So how do you approach that? Because I think it's an important thing, because going back to your point, we don't want to be saying, oh, it's all about the women, we've got a problem, and the men are causing all the problems. It's a bit more than that, and it needs to be addressed in I think, a more collaborative way. I'd like to hear your views.
Absolutely. So most companies that come to us, they generally have a really large workforce. Well, with quite a high percentage of females who just exactly what we've been talking about. They feel held back in the business and organisation. So that's generally what happens. However, so they come with a very clear idea of what it is they want to create. However, to answer your question, let me give you an example of a company we're working with now. So Caddick, I don't know if anybody's heard of the Caddick Group. Right, they're a really big company, and they've also got a construction sector. So
one of my customers, by the way, James, one of my big customers.
Amazing. So Caddick came to us for their leadership team, and guess what? Their whole leadership team was almost all males. So there was 17 in the leadership team. There was 2 females. So we ran the program for the whole leadership team. So it was a mixed. We call it a mixed group. And during the conversation of the mixed group, it came up about culture, like you'd mentioned, Carol, you know, and the managing director, luckily, has got a very similar outlook to me. He knows the industry needs to bring in and empower more females to want to come through the business and want to grow. So during that conversation, during that course, they have now came back to us this year And what they now want to do is they want to do multiple courses of mixed groups, not just females, of mixed groups. Because what they're trying to do is not create a culture of, females and males. They want to create a culture of, I'm going to pitch my business, motivational intelligence leadership. So the culture they're trying to create is this motivational intelligence, because leadership, so they get this now, that leadership has nothing to do with title, right? Leadership, you can be a leader and sweep a floor. If you're influential in a business and you have a voice, then you are a leader. So they've taken this completely different approach to Carol, and it is amazing. But it took that first course where there was 2 women and 15 men in the leadership team to realize.
Well, there's your problem.
Yeah,
There's your problem with the numbers, right?
yeah, and that it was only because of the conversation. Because obviously I talk about, so I actually run the mixed program, well, some of the mixed programs, and we talked about the women in construction, we talked about the women leadership, and so part of our conversation was why. And they're like, well, do you know what? We actually don't want to create a culture of, women and men. We actually want to create a diverse, all-inclusive culture where the culture's got nothing to do with whether you're a man or a woman. The culture's got everything to do with respect, honesty, looking at people as humans, no colour, no creed, no gender, no sex, and that's amazing, because they now look at all at least the culture slightly changing, I'm going to say slightly changing, particularly in the leadership team now, that there is no pay gap. Roles are not based on gender. They're now starting to look at their whole leadership team, their whole business, as who adds the best value, who's the best suited for the role, not whether you're a male or a female. That's what's happening in that business, and it's really cool to see.
Yeah, brilliant. No, that's good, James, because at the end of the day, we talk about, male allies and male mentors. We want to be able to create an environment where a female feels confident that they can talk to, Fred in the corner that's been with the business 37 years and he's got lots of knowledge, and don't feel like, oh, I can't ask him. And especially as we're trying to bring, youth into the industry, and youth in women, it's hard if a youngster's actually looking at somebody in a senior position thinking, oh my God, you know what, I just want to tap his, I really want to tap into his knowledge, but I don't know how to. So it's really good to hear that CADIC is actually looking at doing it right across the business, so it's culturally and in their DNA for and hopefully as part of their recruitment program. So thanks for the update. Thank you.
I'm glad you mentioned that, Carol, because they're actually doing that. So we're now we're doing a train the trainer for them, and what we're actually doing is that, so at recruitment stage, every employee has to go through a 2-day self-leadership program, and guess what it teaches them? How to talk to people, how to ask questions, how to take control of your career, whether you're male or female or anything in between. So they're actually taking that level actually at the recruitment stage now, which is an incredible thing to see.
Yeah, I think I just want to say I'm going to have to slide now because I've got another meeting. So Carol, I know that Nick is nervous about doing it. So can I leave it with you to just to finish up and run around for questions? Love you so much. Thanks, Carol. Thank you, James. I'll speak to you soon. Also, everything what James is talking about, this is our the partnership that we have. So when I keep banging on about this on social media and in the whole, it's these courses, what James is talking about. He got shortlisted to be one of our male allies because of all the fabulous work he's doing. And then we decided to start a business together because why not? So I'll leave that with you all.
So I want to add on to that story. So I was down for one of the male ally at the Women in Construction last year event, and I was talking to Michaela, and I was saying about the work that she's doing, and I loved it, and we were talking about the business, and I said we really need to have a chat about how we can take this, women in leadership to the next level. And sure enough, we had a conversation, and I says, look, let's just stop talking. Let's just create a business. So we did. So we went into business at the start of the year on a new project called Women in Construction, the Power Within Her. I seen Helen, you had your hand up. Has somebody got the control of the? Here we go.
Yeah, I did. I just wanted to add on and say about the stat that you mentioned where there's no gender pay gap in that specific company is all the more impressive. I just released my first podcast episode and it was on gender pay gap, and a lot of because it's Malta-based, a lot of the data that we use is European, so it's not UK, it's European. But one of the stats that absolutely gobsmacked me was that even at C-suite level there is a gender pay gap. The gender pay gap is bigger. It's something like it. I can't remember exactly, but something like 46%. It was huge. So I know that's Europe and we're talking the UK, but still that there isn't a gender pay gap in that specific company is, I won't swear, but very impressive.
Well, I think it's disgusting. If my honest opinion on gender pay gap, I think it's absolutely deplorable that anybody should be paid different based on their sex or their gender. It's about value, man. I mean, we're human beings. What the hell is wrong with us? You know, it just like even in my own business and organisation, we have a pay. Every single person's on the same pay. Me, Inas, our directors, our trainers, everybody's on a really good salary. There's no difference because we talk about being a team. So we don't want to have this hierarchy. So everybody's on the same. When one person, well, obviously based on performance, there'll be a little bit of difference, but everybody's on that same level, no matter who you are or what you do. It drives me cuckoo. Thanks for that, Helen. I'll let one of you control it.
Right. Sorry, my fault. I'll go with Amanda and then Tasha, then Nicola.
Hey, thanks, James. Thanks, Carol. My question was, typically I've seen in my varied career that most companies will offer or discuss leadership training opportunities with current managers as part of some PDP process. Should we be thinking about that before they are managers, just to develop those skills before, during, and after people being in those roles? That's surely going to help kind of develop that high performing leadership behavior across any organization.
Yeah, my take on it is that it should be taught the minute you bring them into the company. And I'll tell you why. Most companies, when they do an onboarding, right, they come into the office, they give them the laptop or their tools or whatever it is they do, and they give them all the stuff about the company and they make them sign all these documents and they say, high five, go do your job, James, right? We are missing a massive opportunity to embed culture, to embed all those things that matter to us at that stage. We should be teaching people about self-leadership, Amanda. We should be teaching people about how they take control of their career. We should be teaching them how, the voice in their head. Everybody's got a little voice, and if you don't have a little voice, it's the little voice that's saying, I don't have a little voice. Everybody's got this little voice that's holding them back in life, and saying, oh, should I be going for that? What if I'm not good enough? Oh, that, it's all men in that organisation, or, we've all got those little voices. We need to know that stuff early at bloody school, as far as I'm concerned. But I think every company, when they're doing onboarding, and I even mean people on the tools, I'm going to go as far as even on the tools, they should be taught self-leadership. They should be taught about respect. They should be taught looking at people as humans, not as roles and responsibilities. They should be taught. I think it should be taught the minute they join your business.
Yeah, totally agree.
Thanks, Nicola. Next question from Tasha. You're on pause.
Yes, I've just unmuted. Hi guys, morning. James, thanks for joining us today. So my name's Natasha and I run a cleaning company, predominantly working in new build cleaning, so on site. We've been going for about 3 years and I'm actually on a programme with The Power Within. So I'm doing which Michaela introduced me to, I'm doing the business mentorship. I think I've had about 3 sessions. So I'm still quite early in because there's quite a lot of paperwork to go through. But as you've been chatting, one of the things that I've spoke to you about this as well, Carol, is getting new contracts and having the confidence to go up to some of the larger companies. I'm quite a confident person, but that is a thing that I am struggling with. And sort of how to present yourself as well. I guess, like you said, it is definitely a confidence thing because, you know, even if we don't want to admit it, but I do struggle with sort of, you know, going up to those large contractors and sort of just saying and introducing yourself. I just really struggle with it. Once we get in and I work, then we get a lot of return work, but it's because, you know, the work speaks for itself, but it's just, you know, overcoming that hurdle. And I'm hoping with the mentorship, that's something that I can work on. I'm working with a lady called Marie.
Yeah. She's incredible, by the way. She will completely change your mindset. I would speak to her about that. She'll help you with that specifically. But let me give you a little bit of advice now, right? I've been told no, piss off, more times than I've ever been told yes.
Yeah.
When you're in business, my one piece of advice is you have thick skin. You're going to say no, and then go back again, and then go back again, and then go back again, and annoy the life out of them to either throw you out and give you an ASBO, or they say give me work. That's my piece of advice on building a business. Never take no for an answer.
Yeah.
Actually, can I just add to your dilemma? And is it the face-to-face element that you're struggling with?
Yeah.
You know, you get the appointment, you're doing it all on email or telephone, but it's actually pitching.
It's getting to the right person as well, though. So these you know, there's different layers to it, because it's getting to the right person, because often that person is too high to sort of, you know, come down and speak to you. Because, you know, because we're cleaners as well, we kind of get swept under the rug. So we're cleaners, you know, we get swept under the rug. So they're often, you know, if I do go into some of the head offices, or they'll just say, oh, they're not going to come down, or you know, and then it just gets left with reception, and then reception may not pass it on. So it's kind of getting to the right person, which tends to be quite high up, but they don't really have time for us sort of small fish, the cleaners. So
okay, we can have a quick chat offline on that, because I think maybe a slight change of approach, because the people that you need to speak to tend to be the bidders, the estimators that actually deal with, or the facilities managers that deal with the purse strings. And, you know, we're in a world, look, we're on digital here. So maybe you turning up is not the right approach. Maybe you getting on a call with them to show that, you know, you're not the traditional walking in, you're a person that can do a presentation of your business. And you might find that's actually the easier place for you to do and sell your business and your services. Meet them in the place that they're more comfortable to have a good discussion. And I kid you not, everyone does business more or less online. So you may have to just change from turning up at the reception, person's upstairs, he's saying, what? I normally do things online. What's this person doing downstairs? So you may need to look at how you change that approach. And by all means, I'm happy to join you on one of your calls once you pitch and give you, you know, good feedback. So that's an option, right? Okay, this conscious of time, but great question though, and glad that you've taken action to join a course with James and his team. Nicola, sorry, you're next, and then Noel, and then Deepa.
This is my second call. What a fantastic conversation this is today. Like, thank you.
You're welcome.
James, the course that you're running for women in construction, is that available then with CITB funding?
Yes.
And is that through the Skills and Training Fund, or is it ILM?
It's through the Skills and Training Fund, yes.
Cool. And where do I sign up?
Just drop Michaela a line, she'll send you the link to sign up, And we take care of everything for you. As soon as you sign up, we arrange a phone call with you. We go through the questionnaire, we complete it all for you. Because we're a CITB approved training provider, we do everything on our side for you.
Yeah,
I think what we'll
really gone.
Brilliant. No, sorry, what we'll do, like all of these webinars, Nicola does a good follow-up at the end. So any links or anything, you know, content from here, she'll send it through just in case. So you go to the right places. All right.
Yeah.
Will do, Carol. And as well, Nicola, it's on the Guild. If you go on to Guild, it's on there. You can have a look on there.
Magic. Thank you. I
Great
would like to
question.
go through it and then sort of encourage women in my membership to do that as well.
Fantastic. Noel, lovely Noel. Come on, let me hear your dulcet tones. Come on, Noel. Smooth us.
Yeah. Oh gosh, go away. No, brilliant conversation. First one I've actually been able to get to for a while. James, you mentioned one word that has struck a chord with me for many years, and it's part of the institute I represent, the Chartered Institute of Building. And our 4 key values are professionalism, integrity, excellence, and the final one is respect. And you know what? If I'm so, you know what? It's in some ways it's sad that we have to try and empower women,
I know.
and in some ways it's sad that it's extremely sad. And having been involved with the hub, I am dismayed and disgusted with some of the comments that come from male professionals. And it still goes on. You know, and I feel that we need to get down a level into the schools where, and even into the courses that we in the I've already mentioned, I spoke about this a few weeks ago at an event in Belfast, that we need to get into our modules for the various courses, something about, it's probably personal skills, about treating people as people. I've said this before, everybody's somebody's child, and you know, boys can be boys and girls are girls, and you're segregated right through school, and in many ways, and you even go into the whole disability side of things, the full scope of ED&I, and you know, I can go back on one example of that. My second boy, whenever he was at primary school, there was a young girl with Down syndrome. And that whole class grew up with that young lady coming through their formative years. And then Gareth was hit with a disability in 2012, and he was diagnosed with cancer. And I saw the disrespect towards Gareth. And I see now the disrespect shown towards women, and it disgusts me and annoys me. And I think we've got to get into our courses for managers, courses for everybody. This is how you treat people right. Listen, don't be abrasive. The years that's gone, hopefully. But the biggest thing I feel for the industry is, and sorry, I'm on the soapbox here, but how do we reach out away from the Caddics of this world and the tier ones? How do we get into the small SMEs who are doing 50-60% of the work across the UK and Ireland? And it's something within the CATB-NI that I'm on the board there, and it's something that has been brought up. You know, how do we reach out in real ways that parents see that there are opportunities for women in industry as well as boys? And we've got to educate the educators, we've got to educate the parents, we've got to educate the kids, and we've got to educate everybody. And I just feel, James, I know you're probably doing it, but getting that across to everybody. So well done you. But that's just a few thoughts from me, and I'm so encouraged actually this morning. So yeah, well done. I get off the soapbox now.
Just to add to that, we are actually trying to do it across the board. We're really lucky. We're working with some really large companies, but most of it, I would say about 90% of our clients are the SMEs, and it's amazing when the penny drops. You know, but I'm talking about the mixed courses, not the women in construction ones, the mixed leadership courses and business courses we do. 95% of our clients are those, 1 million and below clients, and the penny's dropping. They're starting to understand. But the thing is that they've got this mindset, well, it's always been done this way. And we are saying, but it doesn't always have to be that way. These people are humans. Start looking at them as humans, brothers, sisters, mothers, daughters. And the penny does drop, so we're getting there slowly.
Brilliant, great question. No, good response, James. Deepa, I'm just conscious of time, so Deepa will be our last.
It very quick.
Thank you.
That's fine. Thank you.
I only had a couple of things to feedback. First of all, thank you, James, for your presentation. It is really great to see your journey and actually your passion, because it does fill me with a lot of hope that there are people out there fighting our corner and actually helping us to push further and change and progress. To Noel's comment about getting right in there and educating in the schools and in the training, I'm well up for that. And that is exactly what I've been trying to speak out for. I think what I found in my journey so far is that those who are already listening are already on board, and it's those who aren't listening and have no clue and have no interest in actually listening to what it is we have to say. They're the ones that we're trying to get the attention of, and that's the hardest thing to do, and that's what I found I'm struggling with the most. The other bit of feedback is to Natasha. So when you were talking about trying to get yourself in front of, you know, the right people in these corporates, I do the same thing for my the organization that I work for. I head up the facilities department, I head up the governance, I head up the finance department, I head up a lot of the areas. And so to get into that level, I found, you know, if you are trying to approach them, yeah, the whole sales approach has to be adjusted because of the way that we work in the world now. So you can't just walk into a reception and ask to speak to such and such a person. It has to be done in a particular way. However, I have found that it's possible. You just need to get into the facilities management department and speak to the right people. But as you know, someone that actually manages the budgets and signs everything off, I know that it is possible to do. So I'm happy to help in any way that I can. Just give me a shout if you need to. And that's all I had to offer. Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you, Deepa.
Thanks for that, Deepa. Appreciate that.
Brilliant, brilliant. Well, James, lots of food for thought. Great session this morning. I think everyone here has got some benefit from what you've shared, and the fact that you're running the courses as well. Congratulations on yourself, Michaela, and forming together to help the women in construction as well. So thank you all for joining. It's always great to check in for one Thursday in a month for a catch up with some great guest speakers. And yeah, I'm going to give you back the rest of the Thursday. One more day to go till the weekend. And yeah, over to you, Nicola, or Nicolette, or Nikki. Oh.
Thanks. Right, thank you so much, everybody. I've not got a lot to say, but has anybody else got anything to add? Is that? Yeah, right, perfect. So see you all next month then. If you need anything, just let me know.
Oh, just one other thing. Don't forget UK Construction Week, running from the 7th till the 9th.
Oh, yeah.
I'll be there.
Join us on the 8th, definitely.
Meet there, come and say hello.
Yes.
Bye.
Bye. Bye. Bye. Bye. Bye.